Well, because we took all that extra time to do that fret preparation, all the frets are lined up, the tang has been cut out, the underside of the crown has been flushed, and each fret has been beveled and polished. Now, when we go to install the frets, that's the easiest part of the job. I thought it'd be fun just to illustrate how much of a time saver it is by doing all this preparation work. So I'm going to set the timer. Okay, now we'll time the treble side edge dress. God, this is the negative values you were asking about on that 339 Moshi, but that guitar's come and gone. I have a 335, same issue. So what I have here, I actually put a radius on that vise, 16-inch radius, and I have taped a piece of that brass underneath that tape, and here's how I'm cutting those values. So I'm back to the guitar now, and that's kind of what we got so far. Let's go see how accurate we are. Well, as is often the case, we got to do a little bit of re-engineering here. I'm going to clean up that truss rod adjustment nut. So the objective here was to buy back some threads of adjustment because that truss rod nut had basically bottomed right out. Well, this is the finished brass strike plate riser. And this will buy us back the adjustment we need Another tip on these truss rod wrenches, I actually grind out the outside diameter to thin this wall because a lot of the time you can't even get the wrench in there. And this will do it. All right. So now Mark has all the control he'll ever need to adjust this truss rod. Well, since we're doing both these guitars in tandem, I thought we would actually do the wrap up in tandem as well. So we'll start with this 335. It's interesting that they both have this locking tailpiece, which is a good thing. We adjusted that tailpiece so that there is clearance at the back of the casting. I want to bring you in a little bit closer to this bridge. This will explain one of several reasons why this guitar could not be tuned, and it essentially sat in its case. Mark said he never played it. Now when you take a close look at these saddles, you can see that the posts for this bridge should have been set back about 1/8 of an inch further than they were. This one is completely bottomed out to the back side of the casting. This one is almost to the back side, and that one. We managed to squeak by, but one of the reasons we managed to squeak by is because with a compensated nut, the saddles tend to move forward this way a little bit more than they would with a regular nut, so that actually saved us. A couple more things I did to the bridge. I did put some heat shrink tubing on the post to tighten it up. The bridge was just slopping around, super loose. Now it's nice and firm. The other thing that I did, because these saddles don't have a retaining spring, if you flip the guitar over face down, the saddles just fall right out. So I did actually wick some blue Loctite on the threads and into the cuffs of the saddles to firm them up. Again, this is all in the spirit of getting this guitar to behave itself as far as tuning goes. So that's what we did with the bridge. There was also a fairly heavy fret dress on the bass side of the fingerboard. Treble side as well, but mostly on the bass, this area here. So that was leveled, recrowned, and polished. And as you can see, the values at the focal point on the nut are negative values all the way across. Another reason this guitar would never play in tune. Okay, so the final thing was the tuners. We swapped out the Grover tuners, which were very smooth to tune, and the chrome was beautiful, but they never held the string in tune. I would tune the string, give it a pull, it'd be out. Tune it, give it a pull, it'd be out. It just would not stabilize. Well, I ordered these tuners, incidentally, thanks to all you guys at Solo, Scott and Pedrick and of course Era. It was amazing to find these tuners on my doorstep the following day. Ordered them on Friday, they arrived on Saturday. Anyways, these are a complete game changer, these ratio tuners. They're distributed by GraphTech out of Vancouver, designed by a Canadian engineer, manufactured in South Korea. They are the final word for tuners. There's nothing else to compare them to. The thrust behind the design is that there is a different gear ratio for each string. Man, these guys have thought it out. Look at this, 39:1 for the low E. And this has eliminated the proverbial guitar tuning problems. Thank you, ratio. But I just wanted to give you the rundown on James's Les Paul. He's a big Les Paul guy. He's got a whole collection of them. So this guitar originally had those robotic tuners. So let's start with the bridge. It's a great no-nonsense bridge design. The actual bridge itself locks down, the tailpiece locks down, and lots of travel for intonation. And you can see, compared to that ES335. Notice how the saddles, when intonated, are basically dead center in their travel. So they definitely got the bridge posts in the right place on this guitar. Now, of course, this had a complete refret, as you saw earlier. And this is the compensated nut on this guitar. Now, this had a huge ledge. So this was the nut that was on there. It's like an adjustable, vertically it's adjustable. So this metal trough was screwed into the slot. There's a couple of Allen head screws that adjust it up and down. The point is, once the guitar is set and calibrated and the intonation and the height is done, it's something that you should never have to adjust. So it's interesting to know that although these are also 10 to 46 strings, same scale length, the compensated nut on this guitar compared to the compensated nut on that 335 are not even remotely the same. The cross-sectional profile difference between this Les Paul and that 335 tells you why I go with this oversized cross-sectional profile for the compensated nut blanks. This one profile is big enough that it can be used for pretty well any guitar nut. So for the 16 pack of compensated nuts, I ship out 4 of these strips. They can either be cut in half and then each half used for a compensated cantilever bridge saddle on an acoustic guitar, or they can be cut into 4 compensated nut blanks. These can be ordered directly off my blog via PayPal. I ship them out in a bubble pack. It is free shipping for continental USA and Canada, so that $80 price is valid until Christmas. Yeah, so that works out to about $5 a nut blank. And did I say free shipping? For Canada and US only. I do have to charge shipping for international orders. James had swapped out the automatic robotic tuners that came with this guitar to a set of locking Grovers. This also has the Gibson access heel where they sort of smooth out that corner and blend the neck into the cutaway. Here's another view of that. And that wraps it up for these 2 guitars. Now it's time for the tuning test. I have my foam mutes in here so that I don't get any sympathetic resonance from the other strings. Same deal with James's guitar. course, the real tuning test for both these guitars is to plug them in and play some chords. And we're about to do that right now. Okay, here's one last glance, aerial view at Mark's compensated nut on the 335. These are the ratio tuners, and that is where the bridge saddles ended up to get the intonation to line up on this one. Okay, so what I have is a D minor triad with a descending bass line. That's repeated twice, and then to a G minor triad, and same thing with a descending bass line. So I do that twice. So then I go to G minor 6, and then E diminished 7th, 2 inversions, then B diminished 7th, 2 inversions, then to a B major, to a A7 sharp 5, and then back to D minor. Anyways, I've looped that. I'm going to just play over top of that. So I'll wrap this up with some chords. Final glance at the compensated nut on James's Les Paul. So he swapped out those original robotic tuners with these locking Grovers. These are the new frets. And here's another look at that access heel, where they blend the neck into the cutaway. I've actually done this on a couple of guitars for some customers. This is from Gibson. This is their access model cutaway. And this is how I ship those compensated nuts. I send them out in a bubble pack, and there's enough for 16 blanks, 16 nut blanks. And it works out to about $5 a piece right now. I'm holding that price while quantities last between now and Christmas. So for $80, it's shipped to your door, continental USA and Canada. And they're sold in 16 packs because you can see by these last two guitars how much difference there is from guitar to guitar. It is a moving target always, and you're going to need those 16 blanks because you'll go through them as you navigate the learning curve.